All right, everyone. We are live on The Color of Jazz, and I have my favorite guitarist here with me. I'm so excited to have Richard here, and in a minute I'm going to bring Richard on. And just a few housekeeping. Let me make sure that you guys are hearing me. Make sure the music is low enough. But that music behind me, in case you didn't know, is of course Richard Smith. And we're going to talk about this amazing CD that he has out and even give one away. So first things first, of course, folks, if this is your first time on The Color of Jazz Internet TV, then here's what I want you to do. I want you to get in the chat with us. And the way you do that is you either go to live stream or you get in Facebook, because we are broadcasting live in Facebook, folks, and this is a beautiful thing. So you don't have to leave your computer to watch the show. Get in Facebook, go to the Color of Jazz page, click the live stream link, and then you'll see the color bars, and all you got to do is click to watch, and that will turn on your TV, your internet TV show, so to speak, and then you'll see the join chat. So, hey, I see some folks in the house already. I see Lisa, and I know Tamla's there, and of course E just stepped in. Hey E, how are you? So, of course, without further ado, I need to bring on Richard Smith because he is the reason you're here, right? And it's going to be a lot of fun with Richard in the house. He has an amazing personality to go with his amazing music. So let me bring on Richard Smith. Richard, say hello to everyone.
Hey Donna, hi everybody.
Yeah, so of course we have Richard, and he's here for you to ask him your questions. And this is how we roll, folks, on The Color of Jazz. You get to be in the chat with your favorite musician, and as well as I am. So this is my favorite guitarist, and he's here, so we're going to chat it up with him. So get in the chat, folks. And if you, as I said, if you are hearing the music, you are hearing Isn't She Lovely? And of course, that is off of his new CD, his latest project. And we're going to talk a little bit about that project. And it is Un Mondo du Chitarre. And Richard, how's my Italian?
Molto bene. Mondo due chitarre.
Okay. Folks, I'll give you the English version. We'll let Richard do the Italian, and I, of course, will do the English. But that is one world, two guitars. And I'll show some pictures throughout the show, of course, of Richard at various places and things like that. So, Richard, why don't you tell us, give us some background information on you. Tell us about you.
Man, a monologue.
Yes.
I think that I'm a lot like other guitar players who picked up the guitar because it was a great way to get girls.
Right.
And I think I had a couple of moments growing up in Eugene, Oregon, which was a pretty small town back in those days. The live music scene wasn't really active there, and so a couple of times a year, bands would come to town, and one of the things that really sort of jarred me into really wanting to play the guitar professionally was that Chick Corea came to town with the electric band in 1970-something, and I was 14 years old, and I snuck in with a couple of friends of mine to the concert, and we saw the most incredible band I think that Chick's ever had. The first electric band with Al Di Meola and Lenny White, and it was just an amazing band. And I was just totally blown away that night, and we all got on our bikes and rode home, and I rode my bike home and decided I wanted to be a professional guitar player. And I figured that Al Di Meola was only 19 at that age. And
really?
That's only a couple of years. If I practice the guitar every waking minute, I might be able to make it by the time I'm 19 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I got home at 11 o'clock, 11:30, called my girlfriend. First thing I did was call my girlfriend up and break up with her and say, I can't possibly be in a relationship. I'm going to be a professional guitar player when I grow up. And broke up with her and put a really big cup of coffee on and tried to stay up all night practicing. Got to about 3:30, 4 in the morning, passed out, woke up about 11 or 12, called my girlfriend back saying, hey, I think I might have made a mistake here. and she said, no way, you are so out of here, totally. And then she cut it off. That's probably when I really started getting serious, was when she broke up with me, and I was 14. Within a year, I was playing clubs, jazz clubs.
Yes, I saw that on your bio. That's absolutely amazing. At 15, you're playing in the clubs.
Well, I'm not saying I was playing very well in the clubs, but I was playing in the clubs. And I've always been a little bit organized about things, and I practiced 7 hours a day. You know, as soon as I'd come home from school, I'd practice and watch Star Trek reruns while I practiced until dinner, and then after dinner, I'd go back in my room and practice. My dad called it my obsession, or my peculiar obsession, the guitar.
Really?
So, but it made all the difference. I guess instead of going out and partying the way a lot of my friends did back in those days, I stayed home and practiced, and I think it made a lot of difference.
Right on. Wow. So, Richard, what I want to know is, so that the concert was a major time for you.
Huge.
Huge. So, but before then, before 14, were you playing instruments?
Yeah, I played flute in the orchestra. I love music. I played flute in the band and string bass in the orchestra, and I sang in the choir. And but they didn't really have a place for jazz musicians, especially jazz musicians who liked rock music, and I was kind of into all styles. So organized music for me only kicked in when I started booking my own band and having to rehearse. But yeah, I love music, and the music schools had actual music programs in them in those days, and it was incredible because like I said, I was into some unsavory sorts of things with my friends.
Really?
We were kind of a gang, you know, and music made all the difference in the world. And boy, if there was ever a time that we need good music programs,
right?
Kids, something to do. Boy, now's the time.
Wow. So music made a huge difference in your life. That's amazing.
Yeah, the trajectory of some of my other friends who are still friends and things like that were very different. And I went to a good high school. We were all kids of professors. Both of my folks are involved in the university. And still we got into a lot, and this is a little town in Oregon, and we still got into whatever trouble you could get into. We got into it by the time we were 15 or 16.
Wow.
And about that time, some of those guys kept staying in trouble, and the rest of us just got hooked on music. And 3 or 4 of my friends that I went to high school with are professionals as well. Very, very fine musicians. So it was a good thing to do.
Nice. Very nice. Okay. So give us some history on from, I guess, then on. You started playing in the clubs, but tell us how you started with, I know you played with Dan Siegel and you played with Richard Elliott and some other really cool, amazing cats. Tell us about that time in your life.
Well, that's really interesting that you say that, because at that time, I mentioned that I wasn't just into jazz. I was also into rock and roll, and around the time I saw the Chick Corea concert, I also saw a great movie by The Who called The Kids Are All Right.
Right.
Peter Townsend I looked a lot like Peter Townsend when I was a kid. I still do look a little bit like him. And so when I went to that movie, I totally identified with this guy who was smashing guitars into amps and pretty much destroying the stage and doing all sorts of crazy stuff. I loved that. I loved the whole James Brown element of it. I've always liked R&B. So Dan, who was from Eugene too. He's a couple of years older than me.
Okay.
From my side of town even. His guitar player was my guitar teacher. He was an old school jazz guy who didn't play with a strap and sat in a stool and kind of thing. Dan was one of the first guys that really started connecting the tissue between funky jazz and kick-tailed concert stuff and jazz. And so my teacher, his guitar player, kind of got stuck in the middle. And they came out one night when I was playing with a couple of friends, and I basically was destroying the stage. And we tore it up pretty well. And Dan hired me on the spot, so it was a little uncomfortable. And in those days, I was 18. There was one smooth jazz radio show in the country.
Uh-huh.
And there's no smooth jazz yet, right? There was one fusion show.
Right.
They played it in Florida, and we're in Eugene, Oregon. That's 3,500 miles. We drove in his uncle's, what are they called? Caravans? They call them caravans. Winnebagos.
Really?
In a Winnebago from Eugene and Portland, Oregon, down to South Florida to play on a show that went from 1 o'clock in the morning to 4 in the morning.
Wow.
So that's how hard up we were to play on the radio. Now, of course, since then, fusion and smooth jazz has become this huge, enormous, huge world. So we never looked back after that.
Nice. That's awesome. Okay. Well, of course, I want to play some of your music, and we're definitely going to get to the your new CD out with Francesco Buzzurro. Did I say that right?
Buzzurro, yeah, the two Z's. It's kind of like pizza. It's kind of like kind of a sound instead of Z.
Okay, say it. Say it again.
Buzzurro.
Okay, you're gonna have to say that. So.
No problemo.
Okay, great. Grazie? No? Grazie?
Grazie. Very good. Parlo italiano molto bene, Donna.
See?
Fantastico. I'm
See.
Asado.
You guys, that's as good as it's going to get tonight, really. For me.
Oh, I don't get a lot better than that.
We're all going to learn Italian tonight, folks. So we are going to, of course, play some music from that amazing CD. But before we do, I, of course, have lots of Richard Smith favorites. And I want to play, just to get the music flowing, I want to play from your LA Chill Harmonic CD. I want to play the title track. Okay. So set that up for us. Tell us about that song.
That is kind of a Grover Washington meets me and Brian Bromberg, and that was the first tune that I wrote that I really kind of thought about the ensemble being, okay, the LA Philharmonic are the best classical musicians on the West Coast. Well, San Francisco has a great symphony orchestra too, but the LA Philharmonic, of whom I teach with a lot at USC, these are fantastic, high-functioning musicians that represent classical music. And I was just thinking, well, it hasn't really been an ensemble, a collection of people who really come together on a record and kind of represent what the West Coast sound is right now. So that's really where the LA Philharmonic came from, and that song kind of epitomizes it. It's got an arrangement by Greg Adams out of Tower of Power of the horns, which is fantastic, and absolutely wonderful horn arrangement. It's got Greg Kruka's piano solo on it that just rips, and yeah, it's just and of course Brian Bromberg's just killing it on the bass on it, and Vinny Colaiuta on drums, who's the greatest drummer on earth. So I just think it really represents my neighborhood.
Right on. And of course, I have a picture up. I don't know if you're seeing that or not, Richard, but I have the picture up of, I guess, some of the folks from LA Chill Harmonic, and I see you and Eric Marienthal, Brian Bromberg, and I believe this is Greg Karukas, and you guys all have your cell phones. So I love that picture of you guys.
LA.
Yes, yes. So, of course, let's go ahead, folks. Let's go ahead and let's play LA Chill Harmonic. Let me know what you guys think about this one. Hey folks, that is my mistake. I had the music all the way down on my end, so you're not even hearing anything. You got a bunch of dead air, unless you're hearing me, of course. So anyhow, I am, of course, am going to play LA Chill Harmonic again because you're not even hearing that. So here we go.